So who thought that John Cena would have such an effect on women's basketball? If you truly think that was the worst you could have done, you don't know sports. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Nick Davenport, aka Mr. Mental Muscle. And today I want to talk to you about the Angel Reese and Caitlyn Clark situation. Now, if you're not familiar, the world has been in an uproar after the NCAA women's tournament, which LSU Tigers would go on to win. And the player from LSU, Angel Reese, would do the infamous hand wave we all know from John Cena in the tournament to signify, hey, you can't see us, and pointed to the ring finger saying, we're going to win this championship. Now, it was divided on some people saying that Angel Reese was out of pocket, was classless. And another side was saying that, wait, Caitlyn Clark did the same thing. So how are you going to divide this? And some even tried to turn it into a race issue. Some turned into athlete versus non-athlete. And that's where I want to take it, the athletic side. Since my background is in sports psychology, I thought it'd be great to talk about this. So the term I want to bring to you is called athletic identity. Now, a lot of people are saying, you guys just won't understand that level of competition. If you've never been there, you never played sports at a high level, you won't understand how much heart and soul goes into it, and it gets emotional, and you're just going to give it your all, and there's going to be some junk talk. And that's true. I've played collegiate sports, and I definitely understand. So getting to the term athletic identity. Now, this is basically how an athlete identifies to the skills, traits, the different personality types that are associated with being a high performer in a sport. Now, obviously, if you're an athlete, you want this to be high, but just like most things, there's a give and a take. Because someone who has high athletic identity, they're going to be able to stay focused, driven on their goal. They're going to have that level of confidence, know that you can't beat me. I'm the best here. And you need that, because imagine going into a sport thinking, well, hope we win today. I hope I play well. Now, granted, you should have in your mind that you're going to win or play well, but it shouldn't be a question. So someone who's very high on it, they're going to have that competitive spirit. If you ever known an athlete, or if you're an athlete yourself, you've probably been the type of person to turn anything into a competition. It could be who can throw away a piece of paper, you make it into a basketball shot, or someone walking to the end of the curb, like who's going to get there first. This is high athletic identity. And you can see how all those traits and skills will help someone perform at a high level. Now, obviously, you have to have the skill set for the specific sport, but on top of that, how well you identify with the traits needed to win, to be the best, to work hard and be consistent over and over, because that's what it takes to be an optimal performer is consistency. You need higher athletic identity. But just like I said, on most things, there's a downside to that spectrum. So if you're too high on athletic identity, you're going to probably have social circles that are pretty much just your teammates or even other athletes on other teams, but not much outside of that. Now, that's not a bad thing per se, but when you think about it in life, life goes beyond sports, especially if it's at the high school, even collegiate level. And when it comes to an end, you're not going to have those teams anymore. Yeah, you stay in touch. You hit them up every now and then, talk about the good old days. And depending on where you live and proximity, you might get a drink or just catch up sometime. But for the most part, in the real world, it's not the same type of bonds. Now, imagine being high on athletic identity and get launched into the real world. So now you have to adjust and adapt. So that could be a downside. Also, one of the biggest downsides I talk about is you get tied up in your worth, your self-worth as a person, being equivalent to your self-worth or your worth as a performer in the sport. These are two different things. And that might be the problem. I think it is, because if you lose a game, yes, you should feel hurt. Caitlyn Clark did not win the championship. You can see on her face in a post-game interview that she was feeling it, despite everyone trying to ask about the hand wave and all that. That aside, you can see that she was feeling it. And we need that, because that means she was attached to the game. She was really putting her all out there, making herself vulnerable to win it all, and it didn't happen. But some people go so far that they think, if I didn't win, I'm not a good person. And I've had friends even get to the point where they didn't know their purpose in life because they no longer were competing or good at a sport. So you can see how athletic identity plays into the role of how an athlete becomes what they are. So going back to the hand wave, people say it might be bad sportsmanship. There's a fine line, I believe, between bad sportsmanship and just being into the game. And I think that wasn't that bad. Honestly, like I said, as a former athlete, and many of the people who were former athletes who commented said people need to toughen up. Really, was it a big deal? I'm not going to get too much into that, because if you're high on athletic identity, this game, this sport means the world to you, and it's part of who you are. Keyword part, because I always say an athlete is what you are, not who you are, because what you do is great. Shooting a basketball, running fast, whatever the sport may be, great skills to have. And it's a lot of things you can get from team building, social snares from sports, so I will never knock that because I experienced them myself. But on the other side, it's not the end all be all. So the people getting caught up in, was this a bad thing? These were athletes doing what they do. It's competition. I talk about this all the time. Competition is not a bad thing. People get caught up into, oh, they need to ease up. Like, no, when you're a competitor, and this ties back into that high athletic identity, everyone is your competition. Sometimes even your own teammates. But competition is not a negative thing. They take it as, if I'm a competitor to this person, they're my enemy. Yes, on that field, they're your enemy, but as a person, they're not. Like, I work with MMA fighters, and this is the best example, I think, because with MMA, they're literally in a cage trying to kill each other. They're punching, fighting, kicking, choking out, submitting. But for the most part, not always, after the final bell rings, they shake hands, touch gloves, sometimes even hug it out. And whoever gets their hand raised gets their hand raised. And I think we can take a lot from that because, granted, these girls got heated. That's what's supposed to happen. Are you supposed to be kissy? Hey, I hope you're okay. There's sometimes where you might be like, oh, you all right? If something happens, that's fine. But this is the NCAA championship. Some of these girls will never play basketball again. Some will get to go in the WNBA where it'll get even higher and there'll be more at stake because now they're getting paid directly. So you need to understand this is not for the faint of heart. And if you truly think, this is me getting to my athletic side, you truly think that was the worst you could have done, you don't know sports. Because I've had people, I played football and I ran track and baseball. So I had pitchers throw at my head, some hit me in the head. I've been cracked back, blindsided in football. And track, I've even been cut off. So there's so many things that could be worse than a hand gesture, a hand wave. So all in all, my 2 cents is they were playing at a high level. The stakes were high. The emotions were high. She did it as a gesture because she saw her doing it the previous week. Caitlyn Clark did it, and it was kind of more subtle. But at the end of the day, that's what athletes do. They perform. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And as always, get your mind right.